John Rains joins me here in the studio. He's the head of political risk at IHS, the global risk analysis firm, and he's going to be with us throughout the program.
Good to be here.
Good to have you here, John. So most of us have these sort of maps with, colored in bits of red and blue, and the numbers over them. This happens every 4 years.
I pull it out every 4 years, get it out and
There
start
seems to be
writing.
this sort of overwhelming confidence from the Clinton camp. Is it warranted?
Well, I think they definitely come into this thing with the advantage. I mean, if you look at the pathways that Clinton has, she has dozens of them that she can pursue, right? With Donald Trump, I mean, even his campaign manager came out and said he only has about 6 different pathways that he can do to reach those 270 votes. So in some ways, she's confident. Is she overconfident? I don't know. I mean, there's some positives there and some negatives as far as turnout. But I think at this point, she thinks that she's the favorite, and that's the mentality that they're taking with them as they enter tonight.
Yeah, so at the moment, they're saying just over 200 of those electors would probably go for Clinton, and about 164-ish would go for Trump. But let's talk a little bit about those swing states, because I look at a place like Florida, 29 electors. I look at a place like North Carolina, 15, Georgia, 16. These are big numbers, right? So if and again, this is winner takes all. Just highlight how important that is.
Well, it's amazing. So, like, if you get 50% plus 1 vote, you get everything. And that's the reason why it makes it so important, because you could have a state like, Wyoming, right? They get 3 votes, not that crucial, right? We know it's going to go to the Republican. But you get a state like California, which we pretty much know Hillary Clinton's going to win. That's 55 votes there, right? That gets you well on your way, 20% of the way you need to get. So really adding up those states, adding up the math, making sure you're hitting those swing states. And that's the reason why these candidates have been basically flying all over the country, skipping every single state where it's not contested and just focusing in on these swing states.
In the past, we've seen a candidate win the popular vote, Al Gore, but lose the election, lose the electoral college votes. Might that happen this time around?
Well, it can always happen, right? So right now we think Hillary Clinton has maybe a slight lead, right? And again, we said that right now the electoral college tends to favor her. What you could see is that you see a huge turnout of Trump supporters. There's a possibility that she ends up using one of those pathways, gets to 270 electoral votes, but actually loses the popular vote. And the big question there is, how did the Trump supporters then respond to that? Do they do they allege rigging, or is this, some type of conspiracy? What happens there? Not really decided. I think at this point, most people believe probably the winner of the Electoral College is going to get the popular vote, but you never know.
They seem to be wound up to already cry foul if something goes wrong. Am I being biased in asking that question? Because at the first hint of something, Nevada, we saw now them going, it's rigged, it's rigged. Trump is on Fox News and he's saying, it's rigged. There's all sorts of problems going on. Has this been built into his campaign as a strategy?
Well, I think it's pretty much, number one, it should always be said, right, that, anytime you're behind, you're always going to say there's media bias and there's things that are wrong and I'm not getting treated fairly. But I do think this is part of the message that he's been using for quite some time now, for the last few weeks, is this idea that, listen, this system is rigged. People are going out and they're voting illegally. And we need to make sure that we have people at the polls to make sure this doesn't happen. So I do think it's part and parcel of how he's positioned his campaign, and also kind of the mentality that his supporters have that says, hey, listen, this is a situation that we need to be aware of.
Just stepping back for a second again and reminding people that this isn't only about the executive branch, or the focus has been on Trump and Clinton, on who gets to sit in the White House, right? But we've also got elections that look at Congress, right? That decide the future of Congress. At the moment, it's in the hands of the Republicans. How important is it this time around that might change hands in 2016?
It's what we're all looking for, because certainly the headline that we're all looking at is who's going to win the presidency, but then secondarily, this person has to work with the legislative branch, right? And so we're looking who is going to control the Senate. Right now, Democrats need about 4 seats if they win the presidency to be able to get control there. And there's a number of different states where they have the advantage and they could actually be able to pull this thing together. Well, Illinois, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, North Carolina, and elsewhere. So right now, most prognosticators think that it's probably going to be about 50, 51, 49. It's going to be very, very close. And it's going to be very important for whoever it is to be able to get their nominations through Congress so they can get on the Supreme Court and get those cabinet positions.
Yeah, and those senators that are running for election are tier 3 senators.
Yeah.
That's like, gold standard, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, in a manner of speaking, I think there are a lot of things here that we're going to be looking
Right.
at. You know, I mean, because it's the whole idea of like how they've approached Trump,
Right.
how they've approached Clinton, where they want to go with their own campaigns. Because
Right.
remember, when it comes to the Senate races, it's all local, right? So they're running two campaigns at the same time. One on the national level, either embracing Trump or embracing Clinton, and then one actually reaching the voters locally.
Okay, John, thanks ever so much for that. For the moment, don't go away. We'll have more from you in a little bit, but do stay with TRT World for more special coverage of the US election coming up in the next half hour.